Welcome to this training on how to use Padlets as part of your virtual TOTs or virtual vision seminars. So let's talk first of all about what is a Padlet. A Padlet is a document or a way to show information or collect information, very similar in some ways to a Google Drawing or Google Jamboard, but it has a lot more flexibility. Here we'll talk about each of those in more detail, but there are free accounts and there are also paid accounts in Padlet. A Padlet free account has a limitation of you can only have 3 active Padlets at a given time. You can archive Padlets and save those off and get to those later, but you can only have 3 of them active at any given point in time on the free one. If the paid subscription, you can have as many as you want. So that's a major difference, the biggest difference between a paid and a non-paid account on Padlets. So let's talk a little bit about how they might be used before we dig into the detail of it. Let me show you an example of a Padlet that Gordon Clausen did. And this was for the Understanding the Need for Che lesson. And you can see the various diseases are mentioned here on these little sticky notes. You can also notice he has a picture of a hospital, of a health center, and of the home. And so the way that this could be used is to ask the question, where do you think these could best be dealt with or prevented? And depends on whether you're asking the prevention question or where they could best be dealt with. But for example, if you're dealing with tetanus, somebody has tetanus, they're probably going to get tetanus, they're probably going to have to go to the hospital or the clinic. So you can click and drag items where you wish. If you're talking about prevention, for example, diabetes, that can largely be prevented at home. And if someone has measles, again, they may need to go to the clinic for that. So you can get the idea here how you can drag these things around. Now, you'll notice that there are little 3 little buttons there, so you can edit the post if you want to, change the color of it, do other things. We'll talk more about those later. But this is just to give you an idea of one way that Padlets could be used. And this is a way that Gordon used them during our virtual TOT. So, what we want to do now is think about it also as an organizational tablet or a Padlet. And all 3 of us actually, Gordon, Rhonda, and myself, created a Padlet that had everything we were assigned to do in that upcoming virtual TOT. And so you notice I created an area over here on the left-hand side for pre-class activities where I put little notes to myself. Then for each day of the scheduled class, I created all of the things that I was responsible for. For example, the introduction slides. We shared a Bible storying example, a defining the good health lesson in Che, some Jamboards that we used, and I'll show you how we access those here shortly. And here's another PowerPoint on Bible storying that we shared that day. Then on day 2, day 3, day 4, then over here I had some more post-class activities. For example, things I needed to remind myself to do. I wanted to make sure I mailed the thumb drives to those that had ordered them, finalize the lessons learned and publish that, complete the evaluation results, and send class materials to the students. So that's another way you could use Padlet if you so choose. You could also use it to create and capture feedback from a small group or large group discussion. We'll show an example of that a little bit later. But for right now, let's talk about how do you make a Padlet. And it's fairly easy. You can see right up here toward the top left-hand side, there's a little button that says Make a Padlet. To make a Padlet, all you do is click on that. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated because you have to make some decisions. For example, there are different types of Padlets. There's a wall, a canvas, stream, grid. You can see the different ones here, shelf, back channel, map, and timeline. I would recommend canvas because that's what we used and you have the greatest flexibility, it seems to me, to move things around. So I'm going to go ahead and select wall, and you'll see it says it's starting my Padlet. Now, it pops up with something here on the right-hand side where it says modify, and there's different things I can do. So this is where I put a title on my Padlet. So my example Padlet, that will be the title. And if I want to make a further description with it, I can say something like this is a test description. You can assign icons. I wouldn't worry about that. Notice another thing here is the URL address of the Padlet that you are creating. You can get to that later on, so I wouldn't worry too much about it when you're setting up your Padlet. You can see that later. So you notice here that it showed up in kind of a green form with the grass and things like that. Right here under the appearance section is where you can choose the wallpaper, and there's a variety of wallpapers you could pick or choose. You can have solid colors, gradients, pictures, textures or patterns, or you can add your own wallpaper, for example, if you have a photo you want to use. But let's just say we want to take pictures, and maybe we like this one with the windmill. So we'll go ahead and take that. Then I'll click this left arrow to bring me back to where I was. And so we've got wallpaper now. A color scheme is basically, do I want a lighter color scheme or do I want a darker color scheme? And so I'm going to stick with the default one here. You can choose whichever you want. There's 4 different choices for fonts. Again, the default seems to work fine. Now here under posting, this attribution is kind of an important one. So for example, if you are allowing people to post comments onto your screen or onto a Padlet, you're going to want to be able to capture who posted what. So I would recommend you just click that and turn that on. That way you'll be able to know who posted which comments. Then there's post position. Do you want it to be first in the Padlet, or do you want it to come at the bottom of the Padlet? You can do that however you wish. Then there's comments. Do you want to allow viewers to comment on posts? I would highly recommend that be yes. Do you want to have reactions? You can have grade, star, upgrade, or vote, or like. I'm going to click on the right arrow, and I'm going to say I'd like people to be able to post a little heart if they like a post. So you can again do that to your own preference. A couple more down here that are important. Under the content filtering, require approval. Do you want to have a moderator require approval of a post before it goes on to the Padlet and before other people can see it? If you know everybody that's in your group and you trust them, you can probably leave that off. If, however, you're a little concerned about it, you might want to have that set to yes. Then you can identify yourself or someone else, a co-host of the training, as a moderator and as a moderator to approve here. Another one that you probably want to have on is filter profanity. Again, if you know the people that are in your group, that's probably not all that important, but it's not a bad idea just to have that on. Then I can come up here and I can click next, and it says I'm all set, post to your heart's content. So I can either click this button, start posting, and now if I want to start to begin to post, there's 2 ways I can do that. Notice in the bottom right hand corner here, there is a plus sign, and if I click on that, that will allow me to create a post. Or I can double click anywhere on my Padlet. So I'm just going to double click, and you notice a little sticky note pops up. And I'm going to say this is a sticky note. And example 1. And so that's how you create a sticky note. And you can create them wherever you want to have them on your sheet. You can drag them around depending on the type of board you select. You can drag them around and they will stay where you put them. Wall may not be the best one. If we want to change the format, we can do that. I could change it to, for example, let's do a grid. I'm going to change it to a grid now. And right at the moment, it's still not allowing me to do it, so I still don't have the format that I wanted. Let me go back here again. And I'm going to say wall. I'm going to create a second sticky note now. And you notice it starts to put them across the screen. I should be able to drag and drop them wherever I want. If I'd chosen Canvas, it would let me. Anyway, there are other things you can do here with this sticky note. You can type in a title like I did over here where I said this is a sticky note. I can type a description. If somebody wants to like this, they can press like on it. You can see that they hearted this. You can also add comments here. So this is a comment on the sticky note. And if I press that right key, it posts it, and other people can add more comments. They can reply to my comment or make a comment on the sticky note itself. So let's take a look now. If I click on these little 3 icons right here, what else can I do? Well, I can change the color. Right now it's got no color, so let's just say I want to change this to yellow so it matches more my screen. but maybe I don't like yellow. I want something that stands out a little bit more, but yet it's still in tune with the color scheme here. So I changed it to purple. If I want to edit the post, I can click on here and I can edit it. Example 1, and we'll say edited. So that's one way to edit a post. You can also just double click on it and edit that way as well. But let's go back and look now at a little bit more of these. I can transfer the post to another Padlet. I can copy this post, so I could paste it to another one. I can expand the post, or I can delete that post. Now, so that's how you quickly create one. You notice here I can edit comments, and I got to that by clicking on this comment right here. You see the 3 dots to the right. Click on it. You can edit that comment, or you can delete that comment. So I'm going to just leave it there for right now. But let's say you want to create something else, not just a sticky note. What else can you create? It'll still be a sticky note, but we're going to do something different with it. If I click on this arrow, up pointing arrow, it'll ask me to pick a file from my computer, and I can drag it there, or I can pick a file, and it will upload that to this sticky note. So say, for example, I have a PowerPoint file I want to have in this sticky note. I can upload that file this way. I'm going to close that. I can also put in a URL link. So maybe I want to have a link to the MAI website, for example. I could put that web link in here and press the save key once I've done that, and that link would be included in this sticky note. I may want to do a Google search for something. So, for example, maybe I want to search for tigers, and I want to have a picture, so I can put a picture in it. Now, if I want to get rid of it, all I have to do is click on it. I can also have my camera take a snap of me as I'm sitting here doing this, and it may have a little problem because I'm actually using the camera for Loom right now for this recording, so it won't work. But if I wasn't doing that, it would take a picture of me and insert that here. Notice the 3 other dots. So we've talked about this: upload, link, Google search, take a snap from my camera. I can capture video from my camera. I can't do that right now because, again, I'm recording this. My camera's already in use. I could record audio from just the microphone on my computer. I can record my screen and have that captured. I can doodle on the screen with an on-screen canvas. I can put a location, or I can put a link to another Padlet. So let's just do this draw real quick. And let's just say I want to doodle a little bit. Notice I've got my pen down here, and I'm doodling in that color. If I pick another color, it doodles in that color. And I can save that. And it saves that drawing. Obviously, that's not a drawing we would want to keep, but I just wanted to show you how that can be done. Now, suppose I want to delete this sticky note. Notice right up here, when I'm clicked on it, there's a little dotted line around the box so you can tell what is selected and what note you're working on. And you can just press the trash can to get rid of it. And it's that easy to get rid of a sticky note that you don't want. It gives you a little warning, says if you delete that post, this particular one right here, then it'll be undone. It can't be undone. Am I okay with that? I'm going to say yes. A few other things that you want to make sure you notice. Up here, sharing. You can share your Padlet with other people. If I go back to my dashboard here for a moment, this is the Padlet I just now created. This was a Padlet that Gordon created, and he shared with me. This is a Padlet that Rhonda Barnett shared with me, and I shared mine with them. Now, why is that important? Well, go back here again to this Padlet where I had all of my things lined out for the virtual training. Gordon and Rhonda did the same thing. Why did we do that? Well, just say I got sick on Tuesday and I wasn't able to do my workshop presentations for the training. They could come to my Padlet and they could go through it and they could select everything that I was scheduled to do that day and step in and substitute for me on any given lesson. So that's why we shared those Padlets with each other. A shared Padlet, by the way, does not count against your own personal limit of 3 Padlets that you can use on the free account. All right, so let me go back over here again, back to the one I just created. So when you're sharing Padlets, you can add members. You invite members with an email address if you have it. The other thing you can do is this is really more for if somebody has a Padlet account. You can put their name there and then click Add Members. You can set it so that visitors can write to your Padlet, or you can keep your Padlet hidden, so you can change privacy settings. And your sharing settings, you can copy a link to a clipboard and share that out. That's what you would do if you are asking a small group or a breakout room in Zoom to work on this Padlet. You would copy the link to the clipboard, then go paste that link in chat in Zoom. You can also get a QR code so people can scan the QR code with their smartphone, and it would take them to the Padlet. You can take this Padlet and embed it into your blog or your website, which is not relevant for our purposes here. But if you want to share it to someone via email, you click on email, put in their email address, and then the link will be shared with them. The Padlet will be shared and they can access it. If you want to share it on Facebook, you can, or share it on Twitter, or share it in Google Classroom, you can do that too. Now, as far as exporting this Padlet, you can do that, which is kind of nice because that way you can send a copy of it to the attendees of the training. So you can save it as an image, which is a PNG actually. You can save it as a PDF, which is probably a preferred way to do it. Depending on the type of data you have in your Padlet, you can either save it as a comma-separated value file or an Excel spreadsheet, or you can print it out. So those are ways that you can share your or embed your Padlet in somewhere else. Let's talk now about a couple other things. We're going to talk about modify. Now, if I want to modify this Padlet, if I click that, basically it takes me back to pretty much the same things we had at the very beginning when we started it out. I can change the title, the description, the address is going to stay. I can change the wallpaper again, the color scheme, the fonts, post positions, attributions, any of those things I can change. I'm just going to press close. I'm going to go back to those three dots in the upper right hand corner again. Now if I want to clear all posts off of this, I can do that. So I have a blank sheet to start with. If I press clear all posts, my post will go away. And it says, are you sure you want to do that? I say yes, and there goes my post that I made, the sticky note, and it's now gone. I can also delete or archive this document as well, this Padlet. If I archive it, I'll archive that right now. We'll go back to my dashboard, and you'll see in my archived selection on the left-hand side, there are two Padlets there now, and including the one I was just working on. So you can access your archived Padlets later, and if you want to restore it or unarchive it, you can do that, and it will put it back onto your dashboard once again. So there it is once again, back active so where I can use it. So in theory, you could create a whole bunch of Padlets for a training, archive them, and then pull them up one at a time as you need them or as you want them for the training that you're going to do. Okay, a couple other things here and we're almost done. So let me go back to my example Padlet again. And actually I want to look at the dashboard, the account up here first. If I click on this little icon, that's my account. It shows my account. It says I'm using 2 or 3 Padlets. Now again, you notice there are 5 Padlets showing here, but the Dr. Anna exercise, the remake of the Dr. Anna exercise, and the VTOT1 are shared to me, so they don't count against my 3. The only 2 that count against mine is this one right here, my example Padlet, and Galen's 2020 lesson dashboard. So I can also upgrade from here to a paid plan if I choose to do so. I can go home, and if I go home, it takes me back to my dashboard. And I want to go to my recents again, and back to my account so I can show the other things there. Profile, basically it just shows you what you've got in terms of active Padlets. You can have a drive. I think this is a paid plan feature that is in Padlet where you can save them. You can also have stats that you look at if you wish. We'll go back. And again, if I click on settings, it takes me back to my settings for my account, which are very simple. There's passwords, basic information, communication. So you might want to do those if you are going to create a Padlet account. They are free again for 3 Padlets at a time. Now let's take a look at one more thing, then we're finished. Over here along the left-hand side, you'll notice it says recents. These are Padlets I've looked at in some period of time. I don't know exactly what the limit is, but some of them I haven't looked at probably in a month or almost 2 months now, and yet they still show up in recents. I'll also click on Made. It'll show me the Padlets that I have created that are active. I can click on shared. It will show me the Padlets that have been shared to me, but not ones I created. I can click on the ones I have liked if I've liked Padlets. And how would I do that? I'll show you in a minute. And I can also look at the archived ones. I can create a new folder again if I wish, but in order to do that I have to go on the paid plan, and you'll notice the paid plan is from $8 a month and upwards, probably $8 for whatever you might need. So I'm going to go back to recents and pick my Padlet again and show you real quickly. If I want to like this whole Padlet, I can do that by clicking like, but again that's controlled by the settings that we looked at initially. So that's about it for Padlets. They're a very useful tool, I think. They have a lot of flexibility. It's easy to add things, websites, pictures, videos, animations, audio files, you name it practically, you can add it to a Padlet. And Padlets, by the way, do scroll downward. So if I was in a Padlet that I made, for example, again, you saw this a little earlier, but I couldn't fit everything from my lesson dashboard onto the screen at one time, but you notice the scroll bar at the right hand side, so I can scroll down, and as far as I know it's virtually unlimited as far as you can scroll. Also, if I wanted to put some more notes, for example, let's just do this. Let's just say I want to create a note. I meant to drag this, and I want to drag this over to the side of my Padlet, and maybe I want to stick it over to the right hand side. So if I had a 5-day lesson, for example, training, I could have had another day out here or more days. It's moving a little slow right now when I try to drag things because the video is on, but you get the idea. And then you notice the scroll bar at the bottom allows you to go back and forth horizontally, the one that lets you go back and forth vertically. So you can add and scroll to the right, to the left. So if you're going to use this, for example, in a breakout room, and you want to have one URL that has, say you're going to have 3 breakout rooms, 3 different assignments, you could have all assignments put here at one time, and you could scroll either to the right or to the left, and they could find whichever one they're supposed to do. But let me take a look at one more thing here that I think is worth showing. And I'm going to, if I want to, by the way, get rid of a Padlet, I come to my settings and I can delete it. It asks me, do I want to delete it? I'm going to say yes, and I have to put in this little code, and that little code changes each time you want to delete something. So that Padlet is now gone. But I want to show you a gallery, because you may think, I don't know how I want to create one. Well, they have some preset galleries that you can use and you can scroll through ones, find ones that inspire you. You notice some have patterns in the background, some have photos. Some of them have a solid background, but say that you're going to do a small group breakout Padlet. This is an example, for example, the Great Gatsby discussion question. So you could set up a Padlet or a note, and you could ask the questions that you want them to answer, and then they come through and they would add comments to it in order to respond to the assignment. So, and you can take these galleries, you can use them as a template to create your own and just modify them. So that gives you a little bit of a jump start. So that's Padlets. I think you would definitely want to have people trained. Again, the top 2 or 3 people you think might be the most technically capable, as well as your co-hosts for the training, the co-facilitators. Have them learn Padlets before the sessions begin so that they know how to operate them and can use them quickly. So that's it for Padlets. Thank you for your attention, and have a great rest of the day.